Daily Trust News Center. This is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, stakeholders task federal government on local vaccine production as world celebrates Malaria Day. NPC Commissioner abducted in Rivers. Kidnappers demand 500 million naira. 1.6 million candidates to sit for 2023 UTME. And on the international scene, Joe Biden at 80 announces 2024 re-election bid. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Now we begin with health, where stakeholders in the health sector say the high cost of malaria treatment is pushing most families to economic woes, hence the use of concoctions as remedies for treating the disease. They call on the government to make concerted efforts towards encouraging local production of the new WHO-approved malaria vaccines in order to reduce the burden of cost on affected communities. The call is part of activities marking this year's World Malaria Day with the theme, Time to Deliver Zero Malaria, Invest, Innovate, Implement. The report. All right, with that, we'll move on to more. Still on malaria, Minister of Health Osagie Ehanire has assured that Nigeria will get doses of the RTSS malaria vaccine by April 2024. The minister, who announced this on Tuesday during a briefing to commemorate World Malaria Day, said the government has successfully submitted its application for the RTSS vaccine allocation to Gavi. Ehanire, who was represented by the permanent secretary in the ministry, Mamman Mahmouda, said the national program is working closely with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and other stakeholders in accessing the deploying the malaria vaccine in a phased fashion, subject to availability of needed quantity. The World Health Organization says the R21 Matrix M malaria vaccine, given provisional approval by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, still needs to undergo more trials. The trials are to be recommended by the WHO. WHO Country Representative to Nigeria, Dr. Walter Mulumbo, during a media parley at the UN House in Abuja on Tuesday, also restated the importance and efficacy of the RTSS vaccine adopted by the countries like Ghana and Kenya. As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark World Malaria Day during Africa Vaccines Week and World Immunization Week, Mulumbo also emphasized the need for proper policy funding and education in the efforts to get Nigeria and Africa to zero malaria. He noted that 96% of the world deaths and 95% of world infections from malaria occurred in Africa, while Nigeria contributed to 79% of Africa's unvaccinated children. Still on health, the House of Representatives say malaria still remains a major public health challenge in Nigeria due to many factors. The House spokesperson, Benjamin Kalu, in a statement to commemorate this year's World Malaria Day, stated that 4 African countries, including Nigeria, accounted for over half of all malaria deaths worldwide. He said Nigeria alone accounted for 31.3% of global malaria deaths, followed by the Democratic Republic of Congo at 12.6%, Tanzania 4.1%, and Niger Republic 3.9%. Kalu identified the challenge of addressing the malaria burden in Nigeria as donor dependence for the intervention in the country. He noted that to address this, the sum of over $300 million has been approved under the World Bank and the Islamic Bank Impact Project to address and complement donor support. The theme of this year's celebration is Time to Deliver Zero Malaria, Invest, Innovate, Implement. Heavy windstorm accompanied by dust has wreaked havoc in some communities of Mani local government area of Katsina State. Worst affected is Government Secondary School, Jani, and some residential houses which were blown away. Abdullahi Yamadi reports that over 70 houses and properties worth millions of naira were destroyed in Jani, Yentakori, Mailaba, Makaranta, Makau, and Adamuz villages. The report.
Dozens of animals were said to have been killed by the windstorm. This elderly woman had a fracture while attempting to escape during the midnight windstorm in Jani village.
The breeze and the rain started. So when I enter house, before 10 minutes, 20 minutes, breeze take away my veranda, take away my house, and the water and the blocks from off come through my veranda in my house, and then destroy my stepmother leg, and she get broken.
Many residents who are struggling to reconstruct their destroyed houses called on relevant authorities to assist them. They are saying the disaster came at a time when they are struggling with other basic necessities of life. Residents are also asking the state government to repair the affected portions of their secondary school before the school resumes next week. Other facilities affected are clinic and police outpost, among many others. It was very dark at night when the windstorm accompanied by dust started. I was trying to rescue some animals when a broken block hit my hand. It is very sad, unfortunate, and painful. The Mani Local Council Chairman Yunus Muhammad assured that the authorities have been contacted, adding that everything is being done to assist those affected.
Our own level also in the local government, we try to do all necessary that we can assist the situation, especially the community they are suffering. You can see some of them, their houses have been destructed completely.
The affected residents who are visibly disturbed appealed for support in cushioning the effects of the incident on them. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Stakeholders in the health sector say the cost of malaria treatment is pushing most families to economic woes, hence the use of concoctions as remedies for treating the disease. The call is part of the activities marking this year's World Malaria Day, where the government was asked to make concerted efforts towards encouraging local production of the new WHO's approved malaria vaccine. The report.
According to the 2022 WHO malaria report, Nigeria has the highest burden as 1 out of the 3 deaths from malaria globally occurs in Nigeria. These translate to 22 persons dying every hour due to malaria, an ailment which is prevalent amongst under 5 children and pregnant women, but has killed no fewer than 290,000 persons between 2020 and 2022. Despite efforts over the years, it is estimated that over 66 million cases of malaria occur annually in Nigeria. Hence, the need to not only control the spread of malaria infections, but also eradicate it completely. Stakeholders have called for increased efforts to bring malaria to zero level in Nigeria.
With the robust malaria program and some of the policies that have been put in place, government has shown clear intent. But I think we need to also take it a notch forward in terms of that leadership and that mobilizing both all the major stakeholders within the space to continue talking about it, but also to back.
There are also calls to work on localized vaccine production with other countries, especially in the West African region, to reduce the economic cost on treatment and prevention of the disease.
The scale up of a malaria vaccine cannot just happen until or unless we localize it and we have in-country capacity to mass produce and make it readily available. So by innovation, we not only mean innovations in the medicine or the vaccines, but also in how quickly we're able to scale that and make it available to those who deserve it or those who need to have it, those like pregnant or lactating mothers, infants under 5s, and even adults. How do we make it available? So you're not innovating in producing a vaccine, for instance, you're innovating in the distribution, you're innovating in inventory and stock management, you're innovating in transport system and logistics to get these drugs and vaccines to the available people, you're innovating in storage facilities of the quality that we ensure that these vaccines last.
The WHO in 2021 approved a malaria vaccine for children for the first time after a pilot scheme in 3 African countries, with Ghana and now Nigeria becoming the first countries to approve a new malaria vaccine for use in children. Although undergoing clinical trials, the vaccine is for prevention of clinical malaria in children from 5 months to 36 months of age, as there are efforts to make other malaria vaccines for children available in 2024. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Aisha, for that report. Now, some residents of Yola, the Adamawa state capital, on Tuesday besieged the Yola Electricity Distribution Company Operations Office in Jamaica to protest the poor power supply and exorbitant bills issued to customers, especially during the just concluded Ramadan fast. They said some customers are charged as high as 30,000 naira monthly, a situation they say is unjust because of the epileptic nature of power supply. Other residents complain that power is only available once a week while they remain in darkness for the rest of the week. At the time of filing this report, no YEDC staff was on ground to address the protesting customers. However, security operatives have manned the entrance of the building to restrain movement and forestall breakdown of law and order. No fewer than 18,000 people were displaced this month following the recent attacks on some communities in Benue State. The Executive Secretary, Benue State Emergency and Management Agency, Emmanuel Shaw, disclosed this on Tuesday during the distribution of relief materials to some internally displaced persons in the state. Recall that some communities in Akpa, Otukpo, and Guma local government areas were attacked by suspected armed herders between April 5th and 9th, 2023, leading to the loss of 135 lives. Given the breakdown of displaced persons within the month of April, the SEMA boss said 8,000 IDPs were recorded and camped in Adoka in Otukpo local government area, while 10,000 others are in Akpa taking refuge in Ugbokpo and the local government headquarters. Shaw appealed to the federal government through the National Emergency Management Agency, the National Commission for Refugee, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons and other partners, whom he said were already assisting the state to further help in lessening the state's burden. The Kano State Fire Service says it recorded 258 fire incidents in 3 months in different parts of the state. The Director of Service, Hassan Muhammad, disclosed this in an interview on Tuesday in Kano. Muhammad said the incidents were recorded in companies, dwelling houses, shops, filling stations, markets, poultry farm, and motor vehicles, among others. He said most of the fire incidents were caused by misuse of electrical appliances, overload of electrical outlets, plugging too many things into one outlet, and use of fake and substandard electric cables. Muhammad advised the public to desist from storing petroleum products at home, refueling generator sets while it is on, and repairing faulty gas cylinders at home. The director also urged residents to always turn off gas burners and cylinders when not in use and stop using mosquito coils close to the kitchen. Political activities picked up in Nigeria with the return of President-elect Bola Tinubu on Monday. Tinubu had taken a month-long vacation shortly after he was declared winner of the last presidential election. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman takes a look at the nation's political atmosphere ahead of the May 29 inauguration of a new government. His report.
The declaration of the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu as winner of the February 25 election came amidst high-stake politicking. It is therefore not surprising that the political anxiety will rise when the president took a long break from the country. Various narratives have been instigated by various interests, including speculations around his ill health. His return to the country on Monday, however, is expected to douse the growing anxiety.
The mantle is on him now to hit the ground running. But out of what people have been speculating that he's gone to hospital, well, his media men said he has gone to rest and he deserved it. If it's rest that he went for, he deserved the rest, because you know, after how many months that they have been going around the country seeking for vote, at least we are all human.
NEPA, they call them all sorts of funny, nice looking names now. AEDC, KEDC, that. All we know is that they are NEPA. NEPA should give us light. Mr. President should overhaul that system too. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs should really be seen as humanitarian, not the ministry that will cut all things and go and hide and then go and be campaigning, using it to campaign.
Now more focus will be beamed on the preparation for the May 29 handover ceremony to the next government. In the background, there have been intense lobbying for political appointments and stakeholder engagements at various levels.
Governance is not a one-man project. It's something that has to be with consultation with broad spectrum of stakeholders, and that's actually what the president-elect mentioned yesterday when he returned, that he is going to engage all forms of stakeholders, the party and other stakeholders, in constituting the government.
The color and texture of those he is going to appoint will give us an indication where he wants to go. But for me, economy first, economy second, economy third. When you address all of those issues within the first 3 months, then you can begin, at least there's some sort of security now, that you can just build on what the outgoing administration has done.
The president-elect must navigate through the terrain in order to position for a formidable start. Respondents say issues begging for urgent attention include prompt fixing of the economy and tackling insecurity. But perhaps most crucial now is the need to unite the country, which has been fragmented by ethnic, religious and regional interests. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The Yoruba socio-political group Afenifere has said some Nigerians hurt by Mr. President, that's President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, are no longer alive. In a statement, Afenifere's National Publicity Secretary, Jare Ajayi, said Nigerians may be disposed to forgive Buhari if he effects changes to alleviate sufferings in the country before he transfers power to the president-elect Bola Tinubu on May 29. Last Friday, President Buhari asked Nigerians to forgive him for any way he has hurt them. But Afenifere said it would have been much better if the president had listened to pleas made to him over the years regarding the unfriendly, if not retrogressive steps his administration had been taking, while advising Buhari to take decisive action that will permanently halt insecurity in the country and ensure immediate payment of the 8-month salaries of university lecturers. The group said efforts should also be made to ensure that those in IDP camps are resettled in their ancestral homes and that the stranglehold on the economy, especially through unfriendly fiscal policies, be relaxed so that economic activities can quickly bounce back. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, we take a look at security of telephone conversations. Do stay with us.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us on News Hour. Here's a recap of our top stories. You heard that stakeholders task federal government on local vaccine production as world celebrates Malaria Day. You also heard that NPC commissioner abducted in Rivers, kidnappers demand 500 million naira. Moving to security, the Federal Commissioner for Bayelsa State at the National Population Commission, Gloria Izomfor, has been kidnapped by unknown gunmen in Rivers State. Confirming the incident via phone call, the police public relations officer Grace Iringikoko said Izomfor was kidnapped on Sunday evening along with her maid and driver at Ogbakiri junction of the East-West Road. The NPC commissioner was reportedly on her way back to Port Harcourt from Brass, Bayelsa State, where she serves as federal commissioner, when her vehicle was set ablaze by the kidnappers. As of Monday, the abductors are said to have made contact with the family and are demanding 500 million naira as ransom. The police PRO also revealed that the commissioner of police has deployed tactical teams to ensure she is rescued safe and unhurt. A cop has been killed in Oyo following a clash between hoodlums and police operatives along Munia, Akinyele local government area of Ibadan, the state capital. The incident happened on Tuesday while the officers embarked on a stop and search around a major black spot, Police Public Relations Officer Dewale Oshifeso said in a statement. Oshifeso hinted that the team of operatives on patrol flagged down an ash-colored Lexus 350 with a faintly inscribed one-off number, further arousing suspicion from the officers on watch. He said the vehicle initially slowed down in compliance with the directive before eventually picked up speed and dashed off to evade the officers on duty. Following the action of the driver, the police officers pursued the occupants of the vehicle in a bid to establish further clarity of facts, but were ambushed by members of the gang who were waiting in a nearby bush, leading to the death of an officer. Still on security, men of the Nigeria Police Force have rescued a pastor Nicodemus Ude of the Nigeria Reformed Church at Dufuegbu, Ishieke in the Ebonyi local government area of Ebonyi State. According to information gathered, Ude was initially kidnapped and eventually let go by his captives following a distress call to members of the public by his assistant, who was with him at the time of the incident, to block the road the kidnappers intend using to exit the area with their victim. In a statement by the Ebonyi State Police Command spokesperson, SP Onome Onowakboyea, the kidnappers were intercepted along Udofia Ishieke and Edufuegbu Ishieke in Ebonyi State, where they abandoned the victim and took to their heels while exchanging gunshots with the police to pave way for their escape. Onome said the Commissioner of Police in the state, CP Faleye Olaleye, mobilized his team and the divisional police officers of Ebonyi Division to cordon off and barricade marked out areas upon receiving the message that a clergy had been kidnapped. He said the kidnappers were overpowered by the firepower of the police, which led to one of them being neutralized and the arrest of 2 other principal suspects. Items recovered from the suspects include 2 AK-47 rifles, as well as 2 vehicles, including that of the victim. The fragile peace in Ikare, Akoko, the headquarters of Akoko Northeast local government area of Ondo State, was on Monday broken as there were heavy gunshots in the town. Youths armed with guns and other dangerous weapons unleashed terror, moving around the town and shooting sporadically. During the fracas, commercial activities were set to be grounded as nearby shops were hurriedly shut down and people fled the area. The spokesperson of Ondo State Police Command, SP Funmilayo Odunlami Omisonya, confirmed the incident. She, however, disclosed that policemen have been drafted to the area, adding that peace is gradually returning. The paramount ruler of the town, the Olukare, Oba Akadiri Momo, had last week appointed an acting chief imam for the central mosque, an action that sparked off a controversy in the town. The state government subsequently directed the monarch to nullify his action in order for peace to reign in the town. Fire has gutted the Bodija plant market in Ibadan, the Oyo state capital. The immediate cause of the fire is still sketchy as of press time, but properties worth millions of naira may have been lost to the inferno. A combined effort of fire servicemen from both the federal and state governments were on the ground to put out the fire. Moving on, still in Oyo State, the state governor Seyi Makinde has sworn in Justice Iyabo Yerima as the state's new substantive chief judge. Speaking during her inauguration at the Executive Council chambers in Ibadan, Governor Makinde promised to build stronger institutions while also ensuring due process is followed in the quick dispensation of justice. The report.
It's the official declaration of Justice Iyabo Yerima as the new acting chief judge of Oyo State, and the state governor, Seyi Makinde, administered the oath of office. Not sound. In her acceptance speech, Justice Yerima promised to take the judiciary to greater heights.
We have 12 judicial divisions, that is where high courts are, the towns where we have our high courts. And we have, I think, administrative districts. We have 19 administrative districts. All of our courts require a lot of renovation. I did that when I came to defend our budget last year.
Justice Iyabo Yerima is assuming office at a time when justice dispensation appears to be at its lowest ebb. In his admonition, Governor Makinde promised to ensure speedy dispensation of justice as well as build stronger institutions.
We keep trying our best, to provide resources as they become available. But the reality is that we cannot have a 100% budget performance because you have the revenue side and you have the expenditure side. When we came in as an administration, performance that we met on ground was just slightly above 30%. But over these past 4 years, we've had an average performance of our budget hovering around 70 to 75%.
The governor urged the Chief Judge to hit the ground running while also promising to create a more conducive environment for the smooth dispensation of justice.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission on Tuesday arraigned the Speaker of Ondo State House of Assembly, Bamidele Oloyelogun, before the State High Court in Akure over alleged fraud. The lawmaker representing Akoko Southwest Constituency 1 at the Ondo State House of Assembly, Felemu Bankole, and a civil servant, Shegun Oyadeyi Bankole, were also arraigned along with Oloyelogun. The defendants pleaded not guilty to the allegations leveled against them. Counsel of the EFCC, Kingsley Kudus, who prayed the court to remand the defendants at the Olokuta Correctional Facility in Akure, argued that though they had pleaded not guilty, the defendants were still in the hands of the court while the trial continues. Counsel to the defendants, Femi Emodamori, told the court that he was fully prepared for the commencement and continuation of the trial and asked the court to strike out EFCC's prayer for remand, saying the administrative bail application on the defendants was still active. In his ruling, Justice Adeboyega Adebusoye asked the defendants to grant the defendants administrative bail till the next hearing before adjourning the case till May 18, 2023 for proper hearing. Trial of the pastor of House on the Rock Refuge Church, Abuja, Uche Aigbe, on charges of alleged unlawful possession of firearm has been stalled due to absence of his counsel in court. The counsel, Uche Uzuku, was not in court due to claims that he has other engagements before an election petition tribunal. At the day's proceedings, Magistrate Abdulaziz Ismail drew the attention of the court to a letter by Uzuku seeking adjournment of the trial at his instance. Magistrate Ismail noted that the adjournment was at the instance of the defense counsel, whom he said was absent in court due to a matter he had at an election tribunal. He adjourned the matter in the interest of justice until May 2 for the continuation of trial in criminal charges. The police had charged Mr. Uche Aigbe, Promise Ukachuku, and Olakunle Ogunleye with criminal conspiracy, illegal possession of prohibited firearm, inciting disturbance, and criminal intimidation, which they pleaded not guilty. The most common and most important aspect of a mobile phone is voice calls. Before now, it was among some of the few secured aspects of a mobile phone. However, with advancements in technology, the privacy of phone calls has been taken away as leaked phone calls have exposed the fact that calls are no longer secure. In this report, Noel Sampson speaks with Nigerians on the rise in leaked conversations and what it portends for the future of phone calls.
Phone calls were usually regarded as private conversations within parties involved. Such chats have over the years stayed so. In recent times, calls are increasingly being leaked as the public space is frequently inundated with leaked conversations that are meant to be private. Technologically, there are apps that enable phones to record conversations, while some phones allow users to either manually or automatically activate call recording. Also, there are apps that enable third parties to tap phone lines of unsuspecting users to record conversation or access certain kinds of data. A tech expert, Deji Mike, identifies some of the signs that point to the fact that one's phones may have been hacked.
There are some basic signs to look out for to know if your phone is being tapped. Number one should be, I think, battery consumption. Once your line is being tapped, your phone is being tapped, your battery seems to do it more and gets hot. Gets as the temperature of the phone gets hot because it's overworking beyond its capacity. Another thing to look out for is the data consumption, because it's transmitting somewhere else, another different device, the data seems to run down to get exhausted on time.
The recent gale of leaked conversations among relatives, colleagues, or friends have raised the level of distrust among many Nigerians who are wary of the kind of conversation they engage in during phone calls.
I prefer one-on-one conversation. Like a couple of times, if I had conversation with someone, maybe, I don't know, somehow I get to hear it from someone else. It has happened to me personally. So I prefer like to see the person one-on-one, we discuss it. You get, yeah, instead of phone calls.
For me, I don't really have trust conversation on phone because, you know, this system of government now and the way of the civilization of technology. So they do hack system like phones, many things, even your WhatsApp, even the Facebook. They monitor the calls that come in, the calls that goes out, the chats, everything.
This scenario has made many to think of ways of holding conversations and restricting such to the parties involved without the likelihood of a leak to a third party.
Don't let your phone get to the wrong hands. As you don't, unlike those days, you can simply leave your phone with your kids or with your spouse or with your friend and walk away. You don't do that anymore because in a split second, they can gain access into your valid information. And there are some other websites also that are not really secured. Any website that does not have the HTTP is really not a secured site.
Despite the seeming distrust that such leaks promote, discussing over the phone has been known to help parties appreciate non-verbal cues like pitch and tone, as well as the silence in between. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
This is News Hour on Trust TV. We'll be back after this break.
That's great. It's good to see you.
Welcome back. Now in education, as the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board commences the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examinations on Tuesday, candidates at some centers in Jos Plateau State have identified some technical hitches with the exercise. The candidates also complain of time constraints as the time stipulated by the examination body is not enough to finish all the subjects registered for the exam. Ado Musa completes the report.
Just like in other states of the Federation, the 2023 UTME began on time, with officials of the board already set for the exercise. In most of the centers visited by Trust TV in Jos, candidates for the first batch were seen waiting for the exercise to commence. However, some candidates who participated in the first batch of the exercise expressed dissatisfaction with the network and the computers used during the exams.
And I was prepared for the exam very well. I was reading well, like throughout the nights I was reading my books. So when I came for the examinations, I saw like before I was having tension, like all these anxieties for writing the exams. But many people were complaining that the exams was like the connection was lost. Some could not even finish their exams. Like my friends were even complaining about it.
Yes, this is my first time of writing JAMB, but I really enjoyed it, although there was network problem. A lot of people could not finish because of the network and the timer, but all thanks to God Almighty. The time was not actually enough, but we thank God.
Before the JAMB exam, yes, I was prepared to an extent. I was able to cover a lot in my syllabus, so I was prepared. But then the only problem when we arrived at the JAMB hall was that the time was a bit short for me to finish everything, and that was not even my main issue. Like their systems, I will give it an F9 in their systems, because at first my system got off. After my system got off, they changed my seats. My timer was around 18 to 19 minutes left, but they still shut down my system saying the exam is over. I don't understand why. We'll go and meet our parents will say we failed.
While complaining about the technical hitches experienced during the exams, the candidates, however, advised the JAMB to improve on the process.
Lose their exams and people want to lose marks, because it's causing problem to other students, and their parents will think maybe like their children are not reading, or maybe their children are not even participating in the examination. So I would like so that the country will like provide more connection and more data.
They should please monitor the centers they are giving anyhow to be doing JAMB for us, because some centers will just be doing what us we don't know, and they'll just be failing us anyhow. Now I have parents to go and JAMB at home. I don't even know what to go and tell them now.
About 1.6 million candidates are participating in the exercise, which is expected to end on May 3rd this year. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
In the same vein, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has commenced the 2023 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination nationwide. Data obtained from the examination body reveals that close to 1.6 million candidates across over 700 centers are expected to take the examination, which will come to an end on May 12, 2023, so as to give room for the registration for the direct entry examinations. Our correspondent who visited some centers in Ilorin, the Kwara State capital, observed that candidates are being checked into the examination halls through the use of biometric verification machines. Though some candidates say that they encountered hitches during the verification process, officials on the ground noted that all the glitches would be resolved. The examination was earlier scheduled to commence on Saturday, April 29, 2023, and the board, in an earlier statement by its spokesperson, Fabian Benjamin, explained that the change in the date of the UTME was to accommodate some other major and critical national assignments. The Kogi state government has restated its stand to sanction schools and colleges involved in WAEC examination malpractices, including making them face the law. The Commissioner for Education, Science and Technology, Wemi Jones, disclosed this on Tuesday while addressing principals, supervisors and 2023 WAEC examination officers in Dekina local government. Jones stated that those involved in examination misconduct in the state that led to sanctions by WAEC will not be spared but will be arraigned before the law after investigation. He described the issue of examination misconduct in schools in the state as unacceptable, insisting that heads will roll to serve as deterrent to others, since the state government has zero tolerance for examination malpractices. Following the non-payment of their salaries, street sweepers in Calabar, Cross River State on Tuesday protested at the governor's office. The protesters said they were at Government House to let the governor know that they have not been paid 4 months. Leader of the group, Nkoyo Etim Efyong, noted that in 2015, government refused to pay them for 6 months, adding that it was becoming clear that government does not intend to pay them another 4 months owed them before exiting on May 29. Efyong explained that some sweepers earned 5,000 naira while others earned 10,000 naira. Speaking on the risks involved in the job, Another elderly woman, Emana Kobam, said they moved to their duty post as early as 4:30 a.m. to sweep their portions, which were always long stretches before daybreaks, adding that many sweepers had been killed by motorists, some raped, while others lost their phones and other valuables to robbers. The National Population Commission has advised members of the public not to entertain fears of cyber hacking, which was the subject of controversy with Independent National Electoral Commission in its recent national outing. The Kogi State Federal Commissioner of the NPC, Jimoh Habibat Isa, disclosed this to newsmen on Tuesday in Lokoja. He said hackers have tried up to 1,000 times to hack into the NPC cyber without success because of the capable and reliable hands handling the Commission server. Isa added that the Commission has embarked on vigorous sensitization in all nooks and crannies of the state for everyone to be counted in the next month nationwide census exercise. He stressed further that the Commission has removed the question of religion and ethnicity from focus because of the inherent danger it portends in the country presently. Ahead of the 2023 airlift of pilgrims to Saudi Arabia starting May 21, Nigerian Airlines are asking for more slots, faulting the existing bilateral agreement. The airlines argued that the current arrangement with many countries, including Nigeria, where a Saudi-based airline will be allotted 50% of pilgrims, does not encourage local airlines to grow. But some experts say while the claim of having capacity by Nigerian airlines is questionable, as evident in the failure of some of them to deliver without glitches in previous years, they nonetheless said the local carriers were not wrong to ask for a fair deal. Saudi airline Flynas is expected to convey 40% of the pilgrims, while 6 Nigerian carriers participating in the airlift are expected to convey 60%. This is in line with the existing quota system for Saudi Arabia, which gave Saudi's designated carriers the right to airlift 50% of Hajj traffic under government quota from any country coming for Hajj. The development has continued to generate mixed feelings in the aviation industry, with stakeholders querying the agreement and calling for a level playing field for all participating carriers, even though the agreement predates the present and immediate past NACO leadership. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
Nigeria's crude palm oil (CPO) imports from Malaysia have risen by 505% in the first quarter of 2023, data from Malaysian Palm Oil Council reveals. This is despite local production pushed by the federal government. The country's CPO import from Malaysia increased to 63,788 metric tons in the first 3 months, January to March, from 10,536 metric tons in the same period in 2022, up by 53,252 metric tons on a year-on-year basis. In 2022, the country imported 227,035 metric tons of crude palm oil from Malaysia. To boost local crude palm oil production, the federal government listed crude palm oil on the 41 items restricted from Forex access. Similarly, to protect the country's palm oil industry and spur the industry growth, the Nigerian government had imposed a 35%, that is 10% duty and 25% levy tariff on palm oil imports into the country. Despite this, all palm imports into the country are still on the rise owing to the huge demand-supply gap. Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, attracted the continent's highest number of venture capital investments worth $6.5 billion in 2022. This is according to a new report from Africa Private Equity and Venture Capital Association, AVCA. According to the Pan-African Industry Body, Nigeria outperformed 4 other countries that made the top list to account for 22% of the 853 investment deals worth about $6.5 billion on the continent. The report showed financials, information, technology, and consumer discretionary were the three most active sectors by volume for the third year running in 2022, with these three sectors collectively accounting for just under 2/3 of the total number of venture capital deals struck on the continent last year. And finally, in stock, transactions on the floor of the Nigerian exchange on Tuesday closed on a positive note, driven by 2.23% growth in the share price of MTN Nigeria and other 32 stocks on the green table. The all-share index rose by 0.49% to close at 51,606.49 points. Market capitalization appreciated by 0.49% to close at 28.100 trillion naira, thereby gaining 137 billion naira. The market break closed positive as 33 equities appreciated in their share prices against 9 equities that declined in their share prices. An aggregate of 2 billion units of shares were traded in 6,404 deals valued at 8.8 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Mwafo.
And away from Nigeria, President Joe Biden announced Tuesday he is running for re-election in 2024, plunging at the record age of 80 into a ferocious new White House campaign to finish the job. After a series of big legislative wins and momentous foreign policy struggles in his first 2 years in office, Biden has no real challenger from within the Democratic Party. But in a campaign that may result in a rematch of the 2022 election against Donald Trump, he is expected to face constant and fierce scrutiny over his age. The veteran Democrat would be 86 by the end of second term. Even if a medical examination in February found him fit to execute the duties of the presidency, many, including in his own voter base, believe that he is too old. An NBC News poll released over the weekend found that 70% of Americans, including 51% of Democrats, believe he should not run. 69% of all respondents who say he shouldn't run cited concerns over his age as a major or minor reason. Over the next year and a half, Biden will have all the advantages of incumbency backed by a united party, while Republicans are only just starting as a messy primary season. R&B singer Robert Sylvester Kelly, popularly known as R. Kelly, has been moved to a correctional center located in North Carolina, where he's expected to serve his 30-year prison sentence in connection with multiple sexual offenses. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons announced he was moved to the Federal Correctional Institution in Butner, North Carolina last week from the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. R. Kelly in February 2023 was sentenced to 1 additional year in prison for his Chicago conviction of a federal child pornography and child enticement charges. This is in addition to the 30 years he's already serving for a separate conviction out of New York. In September, a federal jury in Chicago had convicted the singer of 6 counts charges of sexual abuse against 3 women. The women had testified under the pseudonym names James, Pauline, and Nia on video. The richest man in Africa, Aliko Dangote, is reportedly close to sealing a deal to purchase a French team, Valenciennes FC. The French media outlet claimed that the Nigerian, the 86th richest man in the world, would initially take over the 60% stake of the Edizic family and will thereafter look to gain full control of the club, which was established in 1913. The 110-year-old club has spent an equal amount of time playing in League One and Two, having played 40 seasons in the First Division and 36 seasons in the Second Division. Some notable former players of the club include Argentina 1986 World Cup winner Jorge Buruchaga, Cameroon legend Roger Miller, former Senegal national team coach Bruno Metsu, and former France national team star Jean-Pierre Papin. Let's now join Adeni Ajishafe for sports news.
Delta Queens have emerged champions of Delta State Women FA Cup after a 3-0 win over rival Royal Queens. The high-profile clash between the two top-flight Nigerian Women Football League NWFL Premiership teams took place at Stephen Keshi Stadium, Asaba. 2022-2023 NWFL Premiership regular season top goal scorer Mercy Omoko scored the first goal in the first half before Cynthia Mega scored 2 more to lift Toussaint Blancs inside to a comfortable win over their local rivals. Both teams will shift focus to the Federations Cup this week when Delta Queens will face Paul EFC in Enugu as Royal Queens trade tackles with Force Mahi FC in Ekiti. Delta Queens also have the NWFL Premiership title in sight after qualifying for the Super 6. They will have to wrestle Rivers Angels, Bayelsa Queens, Edo Queens, FC Robo Queens and Conference Queens to claim the crown. And still in football, FIFA has confirmed receiving 4 bids to host 2027 Women's World Cup. Germany, Belgium and Netherlands have submitted a joint expression of interest to host the tournament, while the other joint bid includes the United States of America and Mexico. Brazil and South Africa were the other 2 countries to submit a bid. FIFA said it will send the bidding agreement to all interested countries, who will have until 19th May to confirm their involvement. FIFA Secretary General Fatima Zamora said FIFA is thrilled by the expressions of interest received as they come from member associations with a strong football tradition representing 4 confederations. Australia and New Zealand are co-hosts of the 2023 edition of the tournament, which kicks off on 20 July. USA, Mexico and Canada will co-host the Men's World Cup in 2026. The host will be announced by FIFA Congress through public voting on 17th May 2024. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajishafe.
And with that, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.